Hey guys, Art and Whimsy here. So yesterday on Instagram, I asked whether or not there would be any interest in me showing how I mount full sheet unmounted stamps. And I asked people to comment and send me a message if there was an interest. So I got quite a few comments or quite a few messages. So I thought I would just film a quick video to show you, my process. So what I'm going to be mounting today are two sets that I just picked up from Invoke Arts on Etsy. And I bought them in full sheets. They are unmounted, which means it's just the full sheet of red rubber. And you can see that they're here. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a product called Easy Mount. This is what I use. It's Static Cling Easy Mount, and it's really easy to use. So what you can do is turn it over and then line up your stamps. So for example, if I line these up, I know that if I'm careful, I can get both of these on one sheet, and then I'll even have some left over. So if I need to mount any miscellaneous stamps or stamps that I might have carved myself. So I already know that this is going to fit. I recommend using non-stick scissors like these Tim Holtz scissors from Ionic because this backing is pretty sticky. So you want to make sure that you can cut it easily. If you try to do it with scissors that are non-stick, it tends to become, they tend to gunk up and it becomes more difficult to cut. So what you're going to do is you're going to first take your Easy Mount and you're going to peel off this backing, the backing that has the printing. So there is this backing, but you don't want to peel that off. You're going to peel off this side. And I bought my Easy Mount on Amazon. I had to buy like a pack of 5 or 10, I don't remember. But if you search, you can find like single individual sheets. So a little tip is if you're going to mount a smaller stamp or just a couple of stamps, I would not peel off this entire backing because you can save, the remainder and use it another time. So here, I know that I'm going to go back to about here. So I'm just going to fold it over and I am going to, now it's really sticky, so you really want to be sure that you're lining it up correctly the first time. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, so there's one. So then I'm just gonna kind of burnish it down. And then, hopefully I've lined it up correctly and I have room for the other. If not, I may have to trim it first. But it looks like I am good. So, awesome. Okay, burnish that down a little bit. So I already know that I have about this much here that I can save. And I'm going to trim that up and save it so that I can mount some other stamps later. So I'm just going to trim it up. So you can see that even with these non-stick scissors, it can, be a little bit challenging to cut these, but it's not too bad. Okay, so I can discard that. And here are my 2 sets of mounted stamps. So now it's just a matter of cutting them out. So I'm just gonna cut here down the middle between these two, just to make it, make the size a little bit more manageable. And then you just start cutting. So you're cutting this entire thing. You want to be sure that you're not cutting into your image, of course. I like to cut pretty close, and I like to tilt my scissors or slant them sort of at an angle so that I can trim away any of the excess rubber. Now, depending on the stamp that you're using and how deeply it's etched into the rubber, you may or may not get some extra, miscellaneous like stamping stuff, kind of like, you know what I'm talking about, like that extra little dot or a few lines of where the rubber is actually hitting the ink. So it might take you playing with it a bit just to see, you know, did I get off enough? Do I need to trim this up a little more? So like I said, I like to trim them pretty close. So I go back in here and finish trimming it. Now they don't have to look great, you know, they don't have to be perfect because, I mean, it doesn't really matter. No one's going to see them. The only reason I try to trim them up closely, like I said, is just so that I don't get some of that over stamping. So once my stamps are cut out, you would just peel off the backing and use them just like any other stamp. So let's, and also I just want to say, be careful when you're cutting. If you get a sheet of stamps that the images have been placed really close together, you want to be sure that you don't cut into the other image. So here I am going to carefully trim that out. Okay. And then I'll just grab a quick, or I'll grab a stamping block and do a quick test stamp just so that you can see. Okay, and I'm back. So I'm going to use an acrylic block, and I'm going to use Stays On ink, which is my favorite to use for all of my mixed media and art journaling stuff. So as I said, there's like this other white backing that's not printed, and this is actually the cling part. So you just kind of peel this part off, and then your stamps will cling to your acrylic block. So I am going to stamp it up, or ink it up. I'm going to ink it up. Hopefully I can do that without shaking the camera too much, but it doesn't look like that's working. So let's move it up here. So I'm going to ink it up really good since it's the first time I'm using this stamp, and hopefully we still get a clean, crisp image. Okay, so if you can see that, I don't have any overstamping. There's nothing else that I need to trim on this particular stamp, which is awesome. Sometimes you find that you do need to go in and trim a little more, and that's totally fine. So this one's done. We can check this one as well. So again, it's just peeling off the cling backing, putting it onto my acrylic block, and inking it up. I obviously like to ink my stamps up really well. Hopefully we'll get a good image here. Okay, that could use a little more ink. My ink pad probably needs to be re-inked, but there we go. So there is nothing else that I need to trim off of this this stamp here either. So I think that's about it. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you is how I store my stamps, and I've shared this before, but in case you've missed it or didn't see it, when I mount my own stamps, I use these DVD cases that I buy off of Amazon, and they're great for storing these stamps. So this is another set that I've purchased from Invoke Arts in the past. Again, these were stamps that I mounted myself. I just stamp the image onto a white piece of cardstock so I can slip it into the cover and know what's there. And then these stamps, since they have the cling back, they just cling right into the case. They don't fall out, and it's a really nice and convenient way to store my stamps. So I will be doing that with these as well. So I hope you found this a little bit helpful. Have fun and happy stamping!